I'll let you know.
Okay, good evening, everyone. Calling the meeting to order. Thank you so much for coming this evening. It's going to be a great show. The county people are coming in. The outreach people.
Yes,
Thank you. Open.
open door, yes.
Okay. There's gonna be a couple of presentations tonight. We're gonna do some admin stuff. We're doing the presentations up front, so if anybody falls asleep, that'll be a opportune time to, if you wanna sneak out, that's cool. Wi-Fi is, pretty good. If it gets to be, overloaded with the video and that kind of thing, I may ask you to turn off the Wi-Fi on your phones, for the thing in silence. But we'll see how that goes. John, would you like to, lead us in the bunch of?
Certainly. Please stand right over here. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Cool.
Scott Boston,
I'm here.
John Laughlin,
Present.
George Kelly's.
Here.
Yeah. And Ginny Nichols. Present. Okay, and we do not have Beth Brazone or Caroline Mann,
But we have a quorum,
and we do have a
so we
quorum.
can take action. Thank you. Good. Any questions on the agenda? No. Is there a motion to approve? So moved. Thank you, George. A second. Second. John seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. The consent agenda, we've got a couple of things, the minutes in the 2025 annual report. Any questions or discussion on that? Nope. Got it. Okay, great. Thank you. Motion to approve.
So moved.
Moves.
Second.
Jimmy seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
Passes unanimously. Anybody have a conflict of interest this evening?
No.
No. Thank you. Council member comments on matters not listed on the agenda. Jenny, do you have anything happening down there with you'd like to say?
Well, there has been some conversations, people have reached out to me to ask, they're very interested in understanding better what's happening at the Spud Point Marina with, either an enlargement, I'm really not sure what it is actually, of allowing camping there. So, I was told that, PRMD has nothing to do with it, and it's, something under the jurisdiction of the marina, but residents were not informed and neither was the MAC, and so we don't really know what's happening there, and we'd like to know, have more information about that.
Good.
Yeah, I've gotten 2 calls and I think it's just it's a little bit of an info vacuum as opposed to any specific concern,
Okay.
but depending on what the group wants to do, we thought Jenny and I had chatted that this might be the right time to do an open community meeting with the hope that maybe it would elicit more detail around what the questions or issues are, not that we be in a position to answer them, but at least to formulate and suggest different avenues if there are specific questions.
Okay. Do you have anything?
Yeah, I do. I just, I wanted to, highlight that, the Bodega Bay Grange, hosted this last, Sunday, a potluck dinner, honoring, all the folks that have worked to, renovate, the facility. As many of you know, it now has an officially sanctioned public kitchen, public in the sense that they can prepare food for the public. And it's just a terrific testament to the folks that are committed to the Grange and the community at large, because I think all told, more than $500,000 was raised to complete the work, and the county was part of that, supporting it with a fund for funds for a critical component, which was a backup generator, and a lot of support. But it was a terrific event, and the Grange is really open for business. They're looking for other potential users of the facility. They have hired, as part of the certification process, a kitchen manager. So it really is, the real deal. But it was a terrific event, and a great turnout, so it was a really good thing.
And the hot dogs were great.
And the hot dogs were really good.
They were really good. And there's a Chipino festival
Yeah.
in February with crab. I
It is amazing.
And it's all you can eat, so.
It's amazing.
can't eat that much. I don't
Yeah.
do that. Okay, George, you have anything?
While we're on the topic of eating good food.
Yeah.
And everything, I've recently joined the board of Coastal Seniors, who many of you know. And Coastal Seniors does many things, but one of the big things they do is provide food and meals to seniors, which are defined as anyone 60 or over, or their spouse, or a caregiver. And Coastal Seniors operates as far south as here, Timber Cove, and then all the way up the coast, excuse me, to Irish Beach in Mendocino County, and the entire coast in between. So anyone, I was very surprised last week to find somebody in my community, Sea Ranch, who was unaware, who had a friend who was homebound and not able to cook for themselves, and was really kind of in a bad food position, and was able to hook them up. They deliver through the Meals on Wheels program. They deliver you twice a week enough meals for an entire week's worth of meals. And that includes you get a hot meal and then frozen or refrigerated stuff. And it is, what's the other thing I want to say with the Meals on Wheels, that those meals are delivered regardless of an individual's ability to pay. They do have a suggested donation, but for somebody who is unable to do that, you still can get the meals. And you can look them up online, coastalseniors.org. You can call them, and they do a lot of other things, including transportation. They own 2 buses. They go all over both counties, including Santa Rosa. They make a couple of trips, and it's really affordable. A round trip, if you hop on the bus, round trip to Santa Rosa is $10. And obviously the gas you can't get $10 enough gas to go to Santa Rosa and back. So there's a lot for things like doctor visits or any of that kind of stuff. So Coastal Seniors.
And they're funded now.
They're funded now. There's we have a new executive director who had been an employee of the organization. His name's Brian Flynn. He's taken over. You really quickly figure out he's an ex-Navy guy, because he's super detail oriented, fills out the forms, that does all that administrative stuff. And I was never in the military, but I attribute that to his military training, is that when the form's gotta be submitted, he has it on time and he does all the other stuff it takes to run it. So anyway, it's a great organization.
It's good. I had a couple of things. One is, you recall the meeting we had in Jenner about the watershed and the Berry logging plan.
Yes,
I've been told that that plan has been withdrawn.
Yes.
And I don't know any details more than that. I did get a call from the Press Democrat. I referred him to a couple of people in Denver who know more about it than I do.
Mhm.
So there'll be an article in the paper soon. For those of you who weren't aware of it, the Berry family, Berry Sawmill, you know what that is? They had a big logging plan submitted to CAL FIRE and whoever, I think the Coastal Commission plays in that, for 1,000 acres. And the community of Jenner is very concerned about what that might do to the water supply, since the Sheepshead Creek comes right down through there. And so they formed a little nonprofit to push back. Evidently, I don't know how it was resolved, but the plan has been withdrawn. I don't know if it's permanently, but at least the people in Jenner are breathing a little easier now. We also need a rep from Jenner on this board. We don't have a voice there right now. So if you know somebody in Jenner who might be good, that would be great to have somebody speaking up.
It's great. What about the
We have a Fort Russ, Carolyn, man. Yeah, that she is not here in that. And then, this is from the River MAC meeting that I went to last. One of the concerns that they brought up, Caltrans was there. One of the concerns they brought up was the crosswalk in Guerneville and how it's confusing everyone with the various red flashing and yellow lights. They're very concerned about, and you know, the locals have figured this out. But on the weekends, there's a long backup if somebody pushes the crosswalk button. People don't know if they have to stop or go, or you know what the deal is. So they asked the Caltrans person if they would please improve the signage there. And they cited a couple of places they knew where the same thing was happening, where the signage explained it a little easier. So the Caltrans guy said he'd take that for action. Nothing's happened yet. So if if you guys know somebody at Caltrans, you can call and ask them to maybe move forward on that. That would be great. The other thing with Caltrans was, I don't know if you've heard about this, but sorry.
Yeah, no, I want to speak about.
Oh, right. Yeah, the other thing about Caltrans is you may have heard that a local pedestrian got hit crossing the road down in Jenner in the crosswalk and seriously injured. And so Caltrans has been asked to improve the signage there, make the speed limit sign work. It doesn't work right now. We're county, we don't really have any say in that, but if there's somebody maybe at your office who knows somebody at Caltrans, that would be really nice. Yes.
If I could just add on to Caltrans, Caltrans is, I suppose like dentists and lawyers, they're needed, but you don't necessarily want to go see them. But they obviously perform essential services. They were scheduled to do a major piece of work in the center of Bodega Bay, opposite Diekman's convenience store. It's obviously just a 2-lane road at that point, and it would have required a closure of one of the lanes for a multi-month period. This was originally slated for April and then moved to May. The community, under the auspices of the Chamber of Commerce, I think most directly organized the community in a very constructive way, doing a survey. We surveyed local businesses relative to the potential impacts around calendar for road work of that nature being done, particularly over the high season of the summer. And I think pleasantly, with the help of Che and as well as the community itself, conversations led by Shoshona, who's the chair of the president of the board of the chamber, it convinced Caltrans to change the dates of the work, and the work is now slated to begin in mid-September. And this was, I think, a lot of pleasant surprise that there really was a very positive, open conversation, and this is one of those instances where I think an effective presentation and enough community support with data about the impact really helped. It certainly didn't hurt. It helped, and the date got moved. So for everybody that was involved in that, and I know, Linda, you gave advice to some of those folks. It was very effective. So thank you.
Great.
Did they provide any update on?
We really had a discussion of this.
Just FYI.
Thanks, Steve. Okay, public comments. You have some, this is for things that are not on the agenda. If you have something you'd like to say, go on record, please step to the podium, the music stand. State your name, and where you're from if necessary. And you have 2 minutes. I'm sorry, the law says 2 minutes, so you got 2 minutes, and say your piece. Tim.
Yeah, I'm gonna put the clock on. If you can't see it, let me know, and I'll turn it my way and flag you when there's like 20 seconds left. Okay, thanks.
I'm Tim Schmidt. And I live out on excuse me. Inland, excuse me. Oh. Anyway, I'm here to excuse me. There's an ordinance, AB 518, passed a while back, and I am writing to urge Sonoma County to adopt an ordinance which would implement the private purpose sedan.
Tim, would you like me to read it for you?
Pardon?
Would you like me to read it for you?
Yes, if
Second.
So, what is this?
Who are you?
Oh, sorry, I'm Margaret Graham. A friend of Tim Schmidt, and so I'm just reading his statement on his behalf. And it's a brief note in support of an ordinance implementing AB 518. I am writing to urge Sonoma County to adopt an ordinance which would implement the provisions of AB 518, a bill that permits low impact camping on private property in California. Such an ordinance, if approved without undue amount of unnecessary and onerous regulations, would allow small local landowners in rural areas to provide additional opportunities for low-cost tourism in Sonoma County, but also help such landowners realize additional income from such activity. My hope is that if properly crafted, such an ordinance would provide more intimate camping experiences than that currently are available in RV parks and public campgrounds. Many of us rural property owners in Sonoma County have a lot of amenities to share, most of which stem from the soil, including flower and vegetable gardens, sustainably managed forests, orchards, and vineyards. In addition, we offer quiet and solitude, attributes usually lacking in public campground. If done right, this ordinance could be a real boon to not only tourism, but to the small landowners who would realise supplemental income, helping them maintain and improve their property for future generations. Thank you.
I'd also like to add that Margaret was just elected voted, excuse me, as a champion of the industry by the Sonoma County Tourist Board.
Thank you.
So well done, Margaret. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other public comments? Okay, we will move on. Oh, please.
And let me know.
My name is Ken Spacek. I'm from Annapolis. And we have a problem on Annapolis 3. It's been there for about 3 years. There's a plate on the inside turn, sharp turn, and there's a plate on the road. And the bus driver just recently, a couple days ago, just having problems with that spot. And I was supposed to be able to get a letter from the principal at the school for that. But I'd like to bring that up now and then possibly put it on the agenda or something, and possibly I can have a letter for the next meeting.
Sure.
Thank you.
We'll talk to you after the meeting. We'll talk to you after the meeting about how to make that happen.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Thank you. Supervisor.
Okay, I've been taking notes, so hopefully I can answer some of the questions that come up. And I swear that I wrote this down before you stole my talking point. My first one was gonna be congratulations, Margaret. But that was really nice. I heard that it was an absolutely lovely ceremony and very well deserved. So congratulations on your word.
Yes.
The other thing that I want to say, Ken, about the road, if you can get me the location of that, we can absolutely send that over to public infrastructure to get them started looking at that. So, so we can definitely follow up on that one. Just, specific location and we'll get going on that. I also heard some comments about AB 518. Yes, we are actually moving forward, with implementing that. You'll be glad to know I actually served on an agriculture support ad hoc about kind of how do we help our rural ranches and farms, which are all struggling right now. And that was one of the policy recommendations that we made to the full board of supervisors. And just a couple of weeks ago, the full board of supervisors voted to move forward with a list of wishes that we had, one of which was implementing that. So stay tuned. It's not a done deal yet, but the direction has been given that we want to create an easy process for folks to be able to take advantage of that road camping program that the state opened up. Sheep House Creek also came up. I have no further information other than that I have also heard that the permit was withdrawn. The other update that I wanted to share was back in May, we did receive a formal determination from the Coastal Commission that a CDP is not required. So that had kind of gone back and forth between what the county, CDP coastal development permit. So originally, the Coastal Commission said, hey, you have to go through the county for a coastal development permit for an NTMP. And then we said, wow, we've never had to do this before. This has always been CAL FIRE's jurisdiction. So we formally requested clarification from the California Coastal Commission, who did further research and came back and determined that in fact, it would not require a CDP. So there is no role for the county. That said, now it's all sort of a moot point at this point in time anyway, because as I've been told that the permit has been withdrawn. Caltrans, crosswalks in Guerneville, don't get me started. So the first thing that they offered when we were like, this is crazy, no one knows how to deal with this, no one knows how to respond to this, was to have printed brochure flyers that you could hand out at the local visitor center, because everyone who is driving through Guerneville is no. Next up, it is now QR codes on the poles. No. So I will also just say, like, it is an endless point of frustration. We have 3 or 4 different crosswalk designs in West County, and there's no information about which one is which type, right? So some of them only ever flash yellow. some of them flash yellow before they turn red, before they flash red, before they go back to flash. So like they're not consistent and it is actually very confusing. I do want to say that the ones that flash yellow and then turn red, the red is like a stop light. You must stop. You cannot go. It doesn't not matter if someone is behind you honking and there's no one in the crosswalk. Technically, you could get a ticket if you go at that point in time. If it's flashing red, then you can just, it's a stop sign at that point, so you can stop and then go if no one's there. But just FYI, I learned that by doing the wrong thing and getting a friendly pullover from Sebastopol PD. So I am here to share my subject matter expertise with you. Another thing, Spud Point Marina update. Oh, and actually, I really appreciate the request about Jenner crosswalks and the repair to the speed sign. And so I will also follow up on that, and we will try to flag that for our dear, never responsive friends at Caltrans. So no promises, but we will do our best to advocate for everyone. And if anyone has any suggestions on how to educate folks about crosswalks, I mean, we put it out in the new email newsletter. That obviously is not going to the millions and billions of tourists who come up here and don't read that. If anyone has any suggestions, we're all ears and we can try to suggest better things to Caltrans. I actually want to read because I checked in with regional parks about this to make sure that I would get it right. I do have an update on the Spud Point Marina that I shared with the local Bodega Bay Facebook group. And so basically after a recent conversation with regional parks about community concerns consistently recurring from members of the community that hadn't been part of the process up until this point, we actually asked regional parks to hit pause and explore a broader range of options before moving forward with any specific proposal. So that means that no changes or final decisions will be made prior to a community meeting. So we're committed to having a community meeting. The community meeting is anticipated in the fall, and that's just to give regional parks some time to continue evaluating different options to increase services at the coastal marinas that both support the working waterfront and the commercial fishery, while also considering some of the concerns that we've heard from neighbors. So if you have feedback about that or suggestions, feel free to email our office. We will forward that over to regional parks. I've heard that there is maybe a community meeting that's going to be arranged before the fall, like so that they can sort of come up with some feedback in anticipation of the county meeting. I also wanted to share why this hasn't come to CMAC, and that's because the local body that provides the oversight and formal community engagement on the Sonoma Coast marinas is the County of Sonoma Marina Advisory Committee, not the CMAC. And that is the successor to the Spud Point Marina Advisory Committee, which we recently rebranded to also include the recreational dock over there. So now it's sort of a more broad oversight body, but it's still that body that was formed well before the CMAC. And so this is under their jurisdiction, which is why we're not bringing it to CMAC. That said, I fully wanted to make sure that local CMACs are, invited to the community meeting and aware of what's going on, but we don't anticipate agendizing that at the MAC because we do have the BBCS MAC that is the Spud Point Marina Advisory Committee. And so, yeah, so that's pretty much all that there is to say about that. My goals are to support the public access, but also make sure that we are protecting our dark skies from any light pollution, sustain our fishing community, and work to ensure that we have a consistent coastal quality of life, whether folks are residing in or visiting the harbor. So the most concerns that we've heard about are, concerns about noise, concerns about light. Those are all things that we absolutely want to work through. So want you to know nothing is going to move forward. I know that part of it was kind of like taped off. And so people started thinking, oh my goodness, something's going to happen. We are hitting pause. We will meet in fall and we will not make any decisions or any major moves until that point in time. Finally, big picture update, which was what made this week much better for me, is that we finished our budget hearings last Friday. And we are unfortunately really facing unprecedented strain on our social safety net services as a result of HR 1. So basically we are being asked to do less with more, which is frustrating. We're used to doing more with less in West County, right? And so in this case, we are going to have to serve fewer people, but have more bureaucracy in order to do it. Because essentially there are all these new requirements being put on our safety net. And so we're gonna have to be hiring more folks to deliver fewer services in order to comply with federal requirements that are supposed to make government more efficient. Doesn't really add up to me. But we actually have 38 new eligibility specialists, which are basically our social workers that we're hiring as part of this budget, as well as 10 employment and training specialists to help clients try to maintain Medi-Cal coverage. One of our biggest concerns about the HR1 impacts is that we expect to see could be potentially thousands of folks disenrolled from Medi-Cal as a result of this, which is going to be a huge strain on our emergency rooms, on our hospital systems, also on our ambulance services, because those folks are no longer going to be able to be reimbursed. And so we also, as a county, are responsible for a portion of those folks who previously were covered by Medi-Cal. Well, now we're gonna have to figure out to find some way to provide them healthcare at county taxpayer expense. So we did set aside $39.6 million, and this is actually going to fund care through local community clinics and allow them to be reimbursed by the county for those folks that we are responsible for providing care who then fall off of Medi-Cal. And so that money is going to be set aside and working with our federally qualified and other health clinics to make sure that there is support. And I will definitely, I was thinking about it, actually I was driving up here because it's really been under the guise of Aliados, which is a group of the mostly federally qualified health clinics. And I think that it's worth thinking about North Coast coverage in Mendocino and how that would be handled for North Coast residents as well. So I will flag that for our DHS director. But I do know that we have this funding set aside. We have not earmarked it for any specific entities yet, so that hasn't happened. But I think that it's a good reminder that most folks kind of get their services in Mendocino from this community. And so we might want to think and flag that for our DHS director. So I will add that to my to-do list. Let's see, we also, another win in the budget was that we successfully preserved Permit Sonoma, which was at an operational deficit, partly because there'd been like an increased workload from the fires, and when things seemed more affordable, people were building more things. Now we're seeing that work dial back, and so we were threatened with kind of laying off a lot of Permit Sonoma staff. We were able to sort of keep most of those positions whole, because I was really sort of advocating for not having slowdowns of permit processes. So I really wanted to make sure we didn't lose the functionality. We've gained some efficiencies at Permit Sonoma, and I didn't want to lose that. Other things, West County, good news. $8.2 million, not as much of a coastal issue, but to repair Roller Road and replace the Giovanetti culvert, which were unfunded, and we were at risk of losing those roads, especially given sort of the dire predictions potentially about El Nino. We also added back funding for senior peer support services that had been cut due to loss of funding, including programs at West County Community Services and countywide. We also fully funded the CAPE team, which provides crisis mental health services for youth, goes to all the different schools if there's a crisis and provides support for the students. And then $50,000 for a farm worker needs assessment, which would help us sort of strengthen grant applications that might be available through the state for farm worker services. And then I also wanted to give a shout out and gratitude to Ken Spacek, who is going to hopefully be appointed to the vacant Sea Ranch Annapolis seat on the July 14th Board of Supervisors meeting. So that should be going to the board on July 14th. And so an early welcome to you, and then also a welcome to Bethany McClave, whose appointment as Timber Cove alternate is going to be on the July 7th Board of Supervisors agenda. So we've got 7th and 14th, getting the North Coast representatives on board, and just wanted to say thank you for that, and also congratulations. And back to you, if there are any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
It's so great having somebody from Annapolis. That community has long gone unrepresented, so thank you, Ken. And Bethany, thank you. So if I get sick, you got me, right? Thank you.
I do have a question about the fall meeting. Is it planned for regarding this Floodpoint Marina? Is that planned for September, October, or?
We don't have a date yet, but I'm thinking it'll probably be later fall, like probably October or November. We also are trying to be sensitive to sort of fishing cycles and fishing seasons, and when fishermen tend to have more time available. And then we actually were thinking tentatively, nothing is set in stone, but of actually having it on site so we can walk around and kind of have that conversation there. So stay tuned. I promise that we will definitely let our local MAC reps know. We obviously can't have a quorum of the MAC, but less than a quorum would be welcome to attend that meeting.
Okay, great, thank you.
Yeah.
No, I don't have anything.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Of course.
That was great. Oh, yeah, public questions.
Yes. Yeah. You wanna? Or you probably be seen from the owl from there.
This, you're taking up Jenna. Going south, the last parking spot in front of the coffee shop, if there's a car parked there,
Yeah.
it's always sticking to the highway.
Yeah.
It's just something to add to the list when you're talking to them.
Is that more like a CHP thing, maybe?
Well,
Or just they're actually interfacing between the business owners and Caltrans and trying to sort that
Well,
out?
it's in the right,
Yeah.
right of way,
Yeah,
but there's a
that's what I'm
business parking space, but why they approved it, it's not long enough.
Yeah,
Everybody knows that, right?
Yeah.
It's true.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they back up.
Yeah.
And then when you're back in, it's hard, but you have to go wide and everything.
yeah, no, I hear you. I will add that to the general Caltrans list.
And I have a quick question about the 39 million that you said was set aside for to supplement the Medi-Cal, correct? And is that gonna be something that's ongoing?
So we are programming for 3 years to try to get through the current administration. That is our anticipation for a 3-year, and we are hoping that at some point there may be some change to policy. So, yeah, great question, though. It's not an ongoing 3 weeks. We're like, one time, this is what we're hoping, to have at it, and then hope for changes.
Yeah.
Chief,
And then I hope with some of that funding, we can at least in the future think about some of the ambulance services. I know that loss of PPG, EMT funds is gonna hopefully not decimate them, but severely challenge them. So that may be something that we have to look at how to support, especially for some of the agencies.
the public,
I am really glad that you brought that up, and I actually brought that up on the final day of budget hearings on Friday when kind of everything was fully baked, but we actually had a few different positions that were not recommended. Related to LEMSA, which I know has been controversial, but we're really trying to culture change at the LEMSA. And also kind of resource it adequately to be able to look into things like this, and so I did flag that, we're talking all about FQHC, so there's gonna be a huge hit to the ambulance side as well. And how do we look at potential rate adjustments or compensation opportunities? So hopefully that was kind of direction given to the DHS. But another nice thing was we weren't able to get Director Nolan Sullivan up to the North Coast. And we had him out to Guerneville when he first got on board. But it meant at some point, it might be really nice to do what you guys did to me back in the day, which was stick me in the back of an ambulance, drive a bunch of crappy roads, and sort of show me what it was like from the ground. So I do we can strap him into an ambulance and show him the North Coast. So, and then also actually give him a tour in Gualala, of our camp. Like I think that's a really great thing to see, and how that really does function as a local emergency department. And explain helicopter insurance and all the kind of North Coast specific issues. So I'll reach out to him and see if we can get something like that. It probably won't be soonish because he's crazy busy, but I think it'd be great to get him and his team up here.
Which is something I wanted to bring up. I'm wearing the wrong patch, and I don't have the numbers in front of me, but I mentioned PPG EMT funds. That's a supplement through Medi-Cal, Medicare that's paid for the loss of insurance basically. And I believe that it takes with those funds, it's somewhere in the tune of about $1,100 per transport that the ambulances reimburse. Without those, it's gonna go down to less than 200, I believe. So for an agency like Coast Life Support District, that is a huge number when you're there to provide a public service, not just the number of transports.
Yeah. And we provide that service regardless of ability to pay. So it's
Exactly.
critical safety transport. Sorry, I will flag that and I will reach out to DHS Director and Sullivan.
could you say again, who you will be inviting to go up to Gualala?
Yeah, so Nolan Sullivan is DHS is not the Department of Homeland Security DHS, that is the Department of Health Services DHS. So he is the head of our Department of Health Services. He is relatively new to that position. He's been fantastic to work with so far. And he's really sort of trying to bring a new collaborative approach, especially when it comes to EMS provision. So he spent all day in Guerneville meeting sort of a series of community leaders. It would be great to get him up to the North Coast as well. So I will try to reach out and ask him to do that.
Thank you. Any other questions for Supervisor Hopkins?
But one other thing I want to mention, Nolan Sullivan was with me being rescued out of Bodega Bay at Fisherman's Festival. So if that tells you something, he is literally willing to jump in. And so we both were long lined out by everyone as part of the demonstration. So that's the kind of guy he is.
It was a demonstration.
It was, we didn't screw up, to be very clear. This is planned. They dumped us off, but they rescued us. It was, so, but he's that kind of guy. He jumped right in. So
That's great. Anything else? No. And now, like to introduce Bethany McClay, Public Information Officer, and Chief Jason Warner. They're going to fill us in on the huge advances made by Timber Cove Fire as a result of Measure H funds and changing leadership. Great outfits. Love that space. So go ahead.
So my name is Jason Warner. I'm the fire chief for both Timber Cove Fire Protection District and South Coast Fire Protection District up in Molalla. I've been involved in.
Closer to the podium so that this,
Oh, yeah.
this is what's capturing online, it's owl right here, so, yeah.
I have over 28 years of experience in our local coastal fire departments. I've been members of both Timber Cove Fire Protection District as well as North Sonoma Coast, South Coast Fire in Molalla. As Scott mentioned, this is Bethany McClave. She's our Public Information Officer, Community Outreach for Timber Cove Fire Protection District. Built a slide presentation that she'll work you through and happy to answer any questions as they come up.
Yeah, I've got a slide presentation here because I want to show you some awesome photos. Sweet, pretty. All right. So, as Jason said, I'm Bethany McClave. And I really appreciate the opportunity to share a little bit of our story, and I love seeing so many friendly faces here. The Timber Cove Fire Department was started in 1972 as a volunteer fire department by a really unique local mix. I've had the fortune of having the story told to me. It was the old timers, the kind of multi-generational ranchers, and the newcomers, which some called hippies. So it was a really fun mix of people, and they didn't always agree, and they were very different, but they stood shoulder to shoulder and built this department. And then some years later, literally built the station that's just down the street from here where the crew is training tonight. And that kind of collaborative self-reliance is really the spirit that still defines our community today. And you'll see that when I talk about where we are now. So the Timber Cove District is about 48 square miles. We have 17 miles of Highway 1, and everyone who lives or visits here knows it's a really special place. It is very beautiful, as you can see, and diverse, and also vulnerable. Fires and major storms and the massive influx of tourists, which we love and are so grateful for, really highlight an ongoing strategic significance to our agency and our station when it comes to public safety and services. But for a very long time, our agency has been hanging on by a thread. We've really relied on the local tax base and unpredictable grant revenue, which had us in survival mode. We weren't really able to plan for the future. And to give you kind of a sense of what that was, our budget just before Measure H was $283,000. And to put that in perspective, the absolute bare minimum to outfit a firefighter only in the PPE that they need, we're not talking about compliance, having 2 sets of PPE, the training, everything else that's required, is about $15,000. And with 20 people on our roster right now, we couldn't even outfit the whole roster with what our budget was just before Measure H. So hanging on by a thread. Which brings us to today though, and a major turning point in the story for Timber Cove. So in 2024, the county was so gracious as to give us a grant, and we got a really comprehensive master plan. Some of you may have been interviewed as part of the process of putting that master plan together, and it really mapped out the things that our community needed to stay safe. But a plan is just paper without funding. So we were really thankful to retired Chief Eric Glenn and Mary Intrican and Carolyn Apst and the rest of the board of directors who went to bat for Timber Cove and advocating for a really meaningful allocation of the Measure H funding were it to pass. We are also incredibly grateful to all of the voters who voted Measure H in because it has been really game-changing for us, truly. We are fortunate to have gotten our meaningful allocation from Measure H, and with that money comes a deep commitment to being accountable for it and to having local decision-making when it comes to where that money goes. So I'm going to share with you some of the things we're spending that money on, some of the things we're doing with it, so that you can rest assured it is all being managed responsibly by people who know exactly what the community needs. So with growth comes a lot of work, and we needed people to handle that work.
Even Measure H itself created a massive demand in terms of person hours and labor. There's a lot of transparency reporting, tracking the compliance. I mean, the administrative load associated with the operational improvements we've been making. So we've been expanding our capacity across the board, administrative and operational. You kind of see here on the timeline some of the positions that came into play. The first was King Fire Chief, and that's Chief Warner. We're super grateful for him. The board evaluated a number of prospective kind of leadership options as we were looking toward the future. And we're really grateful that we have some of Chief Warner's time as the option that was chosen. One of the things he did right away was to look at a really smart combination of roles and responsibilities to start our transition into a hybrid career volunteer department where we have been volunteer only for a very long time. So you see, we added 24/7 duty officers, administrative battalion chief, and our first paid shifts at the station. We had firefighters on site, crews 2 days a week. About 10 months later, we added an additional day, and that was based on the data in the master plan that said what our highest call volume days were. So we were putting firefighters there to get out the door very quickly on the days that we were getting the most calls. In November, I was hired. There is now a full-time firefighter EMT and public information officer at the station 5 days a week, which means thanks to Measure H, we now have staff physically on site at the firehouse 5 to 6 days a week, which is really, really exciting. It's also helped us having all these folks around execute some key master plan recommendations like developing and implementing a district policy handbook, improving our data-driven incident reporting, and maintaining and upgrading our infrastructure and resources.
One thing I'd like to touch on is a lot of these positions that we're hiring are what we consider hybrid positions. So you look at a lot of the bigger agencies and they'll hire just a public information officer, just a community outreach officer, and then they have their firefighters and their EMTs and all their other line staff. And in order to be as fiscally responsible with our money, we're blending all of that into one. So while Bethany is the public information officer, community outreach, she's also, when that pager goes off, when there's an emergency down the street, she's the first one to jump on the vehicle and head down that direction. So not only are we able to engage in the community more, we're also able to get that response to the scene to make a difference much quicker.
So here's some of those pretty photos I was so excited to show you. We started upgrading our equipment across the board pretty much immediately for some very important reasons. It improves safety, it improves our ability to communicate, and it improves our ability to rescue people that need rescuing. So I don't know if you can see, there is a person on the side of that cliff. We know that sometimes folks go over the cliff either because they're hiking or in their car, and we're rescuing them now faster than we could before because we've modernized our equipment. We've got vehicle repeaters, mobile Wi-Fi, improved radios, tablets in all the vehicles so that we have all the information we need to get to people who need help faster and to serve them better. We upgraded all of our medical equipment to make sure that we have consistency, which improves our life-saving ability. And really, we have done the best we can to provide the best services we can for our community. And we also have some great apparatus. I was hoping we might get to bring the water tender over here for you to take a look at, but the crew is training with it tonight just down the road, so a picture we'll have to do. One of the other things the master plan said we needed was a capital improvement and replacement program. So that was long overdue. We now have that in place, and we are bringing in new apparatus and equipment where needed. So this is a 2,000-gallon water tender and a utility truck, which supports our growing field work, which is something we did not even have previously.
So one of the things you can imagine on a shoestring budget, $282,000, a new fire truck today is about $750,000 for a basic one. You get into the structural fire apparatus, they're up in the 1.2 to 1.5 range. So then you have to have all this different type of apparatus for different types of calls. And you can imagine with that shoestring budget that we had, we were really trying to make everything hang on as long as we could. So that water tender that you're looking at there was a replacement for a 1985 1,500-gallon water tender. We like old stuff, it's great, but we're getting called to help folks in their worst day. And we're getting thrown into these very challenging situations. We can talk about a lot of the Sonoma County fires, the Tubbs fire. Our folks were down there helping. And you can imagine the reliability challenges of a 1985 apparatus versus some of the newer stuff that's out there. So it's really allowed us to provide better safety for our folks, but also be a lot more efficient with our responses and our capabilities when we're showing up on scene.
And so next up, in terms of apparatus upgrades, is the board has approved the purchase of a new Type 6 engine, and so that's a tactical wildland fire engine. And we're really excited about that. And we'll be looking in the next year, with the 26-27 budget, hopefully on a new dedicated rescue vehicle. And yes, these pictures are very pretty, and I love talking about the things that we have, but what really matters are the outcomes that brings for the community. So let's talk about a few of those. By having folks on staff, we have cut turnout time, and that is the window from when the pager goes off to when the wheels are rolling out of the bay on their way to the person who's having an emergency by over 10 minutes. And many of these emergencies, we're talking about where minutes count, seconds count, so 10+ minutes is huge.
One of the things with a volunteer agency is it's folks working from home, it's folks working from the job. So they've got all their construction tools out, they're in the middle of something, and the pager goes off for somebody having a cardiac event. And they've got to pick their stuff up really quick, they've got to drive the narrow windy roads that we have to the firehouse just to get on the road. And in a cardiac emergency, brain death can start as early as 4 minutes. So you can imagine that even if we were sitting here at this meeting and you had to jump up, run to the firehouse really quick, get in there, there's your 4 minutes. So by having that staffing in there, we found that we're able to have a lot better impact on the lives that we're trying to affect.
So because of the critical upgrades to our apparatus and our equipment and the valuable time that we're spending while we're, paid staffing at the station, working on readiness, we're more efficient and effective once we get on scene. So not only are we getting there faster, but our equipment is more reliable, our training is stronger, our cohesiveness as a team is stronger, and we're a much stronger mutual aid partner as well. So as vital as the response times and the trucks are, I love talking about these outcome-based things. I want to talk a little bit more about the people behind it all. And some more of those pretty pictures. We know that it's all really about the people. It's about being in community, it's about working together, learning together, and supporting each other. I love this picture on the top left here. Many of you are going to recognize one or both of those faces. Dennis Meredith is a veteran firefighter. He joined the Timber Cove Fire Department in 1973, 1 year after it was even founded. And he's standing next to a new recruit who joined 53 years after he did. And they're training side by side, and it gives me chills. It's very cool to bridge this generational gap. Some of these other photos you'll see here, and I want to let Chief Warner speak about them in a second, but our crew's burning with county parks. We're providing water for safer prescribed burning by local nonprofits. We're training alongside regional leaders like Santa Rosa Fire, Coast Life Support, and Mendocino County's South Coast Fire.
So by having the folks, by having the staffing, by having the programs, we've been able to get out and help a lot of other agencies. Again, that middle picture there is regional parks down at Stillwater Cove. You guys saw the fuel loads they had down there. You saw the burn piles that they had there forever. Everybody's limited in what their capabilities are. And so they're coming out with a staff of 3 or 4 people trying to accomplish all of this. We're able to go and help them with some of those things. We were participated in a handful of days, burning those piles, getting rid of that fuel. And really that's gonna help create that buffer for when that one bad day does happen. When that fire starts, works its way up there, there's less fuel there. So being able to work with other folks, develop relationships, and really accomplish more goals has been really key.
They didn't burn the piles of Piscamilla yet?
That's what you've heard.
No, they have not. So that's state parks, and state parks has different environmental regulations. And this is the season for bird nesting.
Yeah.
So they were doing active burning. They got shut down on the burning due to the bird nesting. And as soon as that's done and it's safe to do so, they'll continue on with that project.
So next winter.
Oh.
So what investing in people means in practice is safety and reliability. I'm happy to report that the first major project in our station modernization will be happening in the next several weeks, and that's installing an exhaust filtration system in our apparatus bay. And so that's really crucial for the health and safety of firefighters that are now working on site. And our many visitors to the fire station as well. And that'll be the first in a series of projects to really bring up the station to more modern standards. We're lowering barriers to entry for newcomers. We're fostering an environment that welcomes everyone, with the help as well from our Volunteer Firefighters Association. We now have an outdoor barbecue area at the station, which helps with recruitment and retention as well. And we're planning for the future by building relationships with our neighbors and supporting our own. Another master plan recommendation was to implement a formal mentorship program, and we're doing that so that we can build our leaders from within the community that are going to take the fire department into the future. And investing in people also means investing directly in the residents. So we're a team, the responders, the residents we serve, and the broader Sonoma County community. And I love these pictures, which demonstrate our commitment to that broader team. And I'd love to have Chief Warner.
So through these, we've been able to, some of you have seen the fuel management work that was done on Seaview Road. We worked with some of the Measure H crews that were specifically funded for that to get some of that brush cut back from the roads. The initial step of that, the phase 1, was just 30 feet. So while it looks like there's a long way to go still, there is still a long ways to go. Our goal is to get out to 100 feet. We'll be continuing to work on that. Fuel management on Seaview, Timber Cove Road, a lot of these roads that you guys are driving every day. That picture, again, is the crews working on it. We've been able to develop a partnership with a school. Again, that community outreach thing, getting the kids, teaching them some public safety type of stuff, what to do in the event of emergency, developing home plans. We have plans, we'll be teaching them CPR, some of those kind of life skills to get that knowledge out there. Again, the department participated in the Earthquake and Wildfire Expo down in the Sonoma County Fairgrounds. And we're also hosting, thanks to Frank, quarterly community meetings at the station to bring everybody up to speed, keep them in the loop, answer questions, and really be as engaged as we possibly can be.
Yeah, so we hear requests from the community. I would love to come to the fire department and hear what's happening every quarter. Done. We want to hear more of that. What do you want to see more of? You know, we're looking at training opportunities for the community. We did some sidewalk CPR, hands-only CPR at the Sunday market. That was actually the county TIP grant to Coast Life Support for the new mannequins, and they had us bring those mannequins down. So great partnerships all around. And those partnerships allow us to take public safety beyond just responding to emergency after they happen.
You mentioned the going to 100 feet from the 30 feet on Seaview Road. Is that scheduled or where is that in the plan?
We're working with the tribe right now to get through the last phase of environmental compliance on that, and that should be happening this summer. The work should be being done this summer. I know summer's almost here.
Like next month?
Close.
Yeah, well, in the next few months.
That is the goal.
Oh, great.
Again, there's a couple hoops we gotta jump through still to get that last piece of it.
Thank you.
So this is just kind of summarizing what we just talked about, which is that investing in the community is being transparent, is proactive, it's hitting those master plan recommendations to do risk-based public education programs. It's doing the life safety inspections of places like this school and resorts and retreat centers. All of those things are now happening thanks to Measure H. In the next year, we're going to be looking forward to designing some public facing chipper program, trying to get some grants for large scale veg management projects, and exploring some work in the coastal zone thanks to getting that EPP, which our neighbors know it's very significant to be able to do any veg management work in the coastal zone. So all of these programs are helping keep us all safer today and preparing us for tomorrow, and we're keeping an eye on the long-term horizon as well. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so long range. We are engaging in conversations with our coastal allies to make sure that the corridor is unified. We're all safer when we're working together. As well, a master plan recommendation, and something we've been talking about some time, is the need for a multi-use facility. Kind of the next evolution of our fire station, and so site evaluations and planning for a multi-use facility like that would provide for overnight housing. So overnight staffing for career firefighters, and training facilities, a lot of things that we just don't have right now. So that's on our future horizon wish list. And so I want to close out by sharing with you our newly adopted mission statement and core values, which are new in the sense that we just adopted them last night at the board meeting in conjunction with our strategic plan for the next fiscal year. But they're not really new in the sense that they're just capturing in slightly different words what have been the values of this department since 1972 when it started. We remain completely committed to protecting the lives of the people who live and visit these communities, the precious land that we're so fortunate to live on and recreate on, and the unique spirit of Timber Cove and all of our neighboring communities. In closing, I want to thank the MAC for having us, Supervisor Hopkins for being here, and hearing our story and being part of our story. And I think if there are any more questions, if Debbie tells us we have the time, we would be happy to take any.
I have a question. I understand that there are some paid members of the staff. Are the rest of the staff volunteers, or everybody's paid, or what's the mix?
Do you want to?
So it's a combination agency. We have a lot of volunteers, and we have some paid folks. And, you know, Measure H, well, we talked about the roses part of Measure H. It brought a lot of challenges as well. Measure H funds can only be used on improvement of services. So that $283,000, $282,000 that we had still had to cover everything we were already doing. And Measure H is only allowing us to get better. We all know that there's cause and effect in everything. So we put staffing in play. We have more folks there. They're driving the vehicles more. There's more fuel consumption. Well, we were already buying fuel before, so that has to come out of that original budget. So there's a lot of challenges. But yes, most of our staff is volunteer. And we have essentially just one full-time staff right now. Everybody else works part-time shifts or is solely volunteer.
And just as an example, I am paid from 8 to 4 on Monday to Friday, and I wear a pager 24/7. So I still respond as a volunteer, and that's the same for everyone who's working paid shifts.
Okay, thank you. And is there, in the long-term plan you mentioned, is there a plan to eventually have more staffed paid position, or is that not under the consideration?
So that's absolutely the direction that we're headed. I don't think that any of our coastal agencies have the ability to transition solely to paid staff and rely on that. So I think the model that we're looking at is a volunteer department supported by paid staff. So increasing that staffing level, looking at some different models, potentially like some cross staffing to where we can work with the ambulance service, maybe get an ambulance closer down this way and have folks that can jump on either rig. Some different models, but that's absolutely the direction that we are gonna need to head.
Okay, thank you.
Absolutely.
Great job.
Yeah, very impressive presentation. No, I don't have any questions, just absolutely terrific. Congratulations.
Yes,
Yeah, thank you.
I second that.
I mean, just.
Yeah, I'd like to just underscore for a minute to say that we're so grateful that the governor has made permitting in the coastal zone smoother now that we have our initial permit approved, the second one in play. And that it's an opportunity to catch up where we've been left out in the funding. Before it stopped at the coastal zone because it was so hard, it's now ready to happen.
Yeah, I kind of barely touched on that, but it is a huge deal.
And it's definitely It's smoothed it out. It's still a very rough road. And essentially it took the permitting to where we still have to follow all of the best practices.
Sure.
And that burden falls back on us. We still have to get the surveys, the archaeology, the cultural stuff. So it made the process easier, but there's still a huge lift on us and a shortfall of funding to be able to support some of that. As far as, I think the estimate that I got for Timber Cove Road, just to do the environmental side of it, even though we got the permit, was still about $65,000 before we can break ground. So it helped pave that road, but it is still a very rough road.
It was impossible before,
Mhm.
it's possible with funding.
Correct.
I'd like to recognize, there are two members of the board here tonight, Mary Interton Chair and Carolyn Apps, who have been at the core of moving this organization into the future. And as an ex-firefighter, Timber Cove myself, it just makes me happy. It's so happy to see what a crew they have, the level of professionalism, all of that is just soared, and it's due to your leadership, and I really appreciate it.
Definitely.
Public comment as a member of the public, I actually wanted to echo what the chair said, which is that I remember meeting with the two of you, how many years ago? And it was such a breath of fresh air. And I just, talking to the fire chief, I just feel like there's this wonderful visionary leadership happening up on the North Coast. And it's regional and it's big picture, but it's also deeply local and about the services to the residents and about being able to make sure that we can serve the residents forever in the future and not just, pay the bills tomorrow, keep the lights on tomorrow. And I was taking notes on the presentation. You guys are doing a phenomenal job. So just huge respect and admiration and kudos to everyone who's working there and also the leadership of the board. And then the intergenerational, that was one of the coolest slides of seeing, because I remember Eric throwing me in the back of the truck and being like, you trim these damn trees, or, I can't get through these roads without me. And so, it's wonderful to see that multi-generational, big picture, fresh energy.
Well, thank you, and at the same time, we'd like to thank the county and you for your support. Originally, we had the idea for the master plan, and we were able to get some funding through the TIF, so that was really helpful. We had to supplement it to cover it, but it was really important because it was a roadmap for us. It really showed us where we needed to improve, what we were doing right, and what we needed to improve on. But yeah, it's really exciting, and I'm just thrilled with what's going on.
All of the support.
You gave us the first seed money. And then when we changed,
You guys had a lot.
but it was, you gave it to us. Yeah. It made that difference, so thank you.
For several different projects, the infrastructure project, the water, the sewer,
Yeah.
all the support between us, we really appreciate. Thank you very much.
You're very welcome. It's super easy to help people doing the right thing. So thank you.
Brett,
I'd like to make a comment.
go ahead, Frank.
Do you have any significant concerns about the evacuation route?
I have significant concerns about a lot of things.
Okay,
Yeah, and that's one of the reasons, we're looking at these veg management projects, trying to get the fuels off of the roads to make them more passable and more sustainable during those larger scale events. So I think supporting the vegetation management along the roads is one of the few things that we can do that has the ability to be effective. But we need to remember that it's not a one-time thing. We're gonna have to maintain that. We're gonna have to continue those processes. But if we can build those buffers, to change the fire environment next to the roads, it's gonna allow us to have better access for egress as necessary.
And just one additional thing for evacuation, which is our Firewise community. Min Allison is a member of that committee, and she is putting together a workshop, I believe, on evacuation for the residents here. And we have a public education partnership with Firewise. So, to the extent that we have operational information that would be helpful for that workshop, we're gonna be part of that as well. So stay tuned for more information from your Firewise community about that.
thank you.
Mr. Spacek.
Yes, I'm from Annapolis naturally, and we have a fire department, volunteer fire department. And Betsy Redwood donated an acre of ground for us, and we were trying to build our own firehouse and everything. And the restrictions by the county and it run the cost up of what we thought we could do for 100 grand to 350 grand. And our community, you know, just, you know, our fundraisers were never gonna make it, you know, to do it. And then there was this, the volunteers had to go through a lot of stuff. And you know, they're working and Joe Miller was teaching them. And we just lost our volunteers pretty much. There was a few left. But the fire department just got so overridden by other stuff that we lost it.
You know, and it's really hard from the volunteer side of life is tough. We're all having to work harder in our normal jobs. What should be a simple task isn't a simple task anymore. The requirements that are coming down to us from OSHA and FPA they treat a volunteer firefighter the same as a paid professional firefighter as far as the training requirements that are required. And the other aspect to it is the calls for service. I mean, I can speak, I haven't pulled the Timber Cove numbers, but I can speak to 5 years ago in Walla, we were running about 170 calls per year for service. And last year, I believe we ran 502 calls for service. And you're still doing that with a whole volunteer group. So not only is life getting harder, money's getting stretched further and further for those volunteers, they're being asked to respond 3 times more often. You know, that's twice a day that they're dropping their tools, walking away from work, walking away from family dinner. And we just have to find a way to make it a more sustainable system. And that's where we're looking at the daytime staffing programs that we're putting into place so that we're not pulling the volunteers for every basic medical aid, every lift assist. We're really saving them to the best of our ability for the larger scale events where we need all of the folks. But we're recognizing that if we don't start those processes now, we are going to burn out all of our folks. And that's a serious concern because there is a limited pool of folks, just similar to Annapolis. There's only so many folks that are able and willing to give their time to help their community members.
I think that's a really good segue. I think the next speaker is waiting and we left training to come here, so I think we're probably gonna take off and head back. But thank you so much.
Thank you. Okay, up next, overview of the Open Doors Mobile Services Program. We have Lynn Peralta here from the Human Services Department. And turn it over to you, Lynn.
Great, thank you so much. Good evening, everyone. My name is Lynn Peralta, and I'm the Assistant Director for Sonoma County Human Services Department. Happy to be here with you today to talk about our county's new Open Doors Mobile Services Program. And I also wanted to thank and acknowledge Supervisor Hopkins and Debbie Ramirez and the Sonoma County Coast Municipal Advisory Council for this opportunity. Appreciate this presentation and opportunity. To jump right in, our new mobile vans are part of a broader campaign that we launched last year called Open Doors, which is an online resource directory. And the website is opendoorsSC.com, opendoorssonomacounty.com. And it's a great way for the community, for residents and the public to access on their mobile devices, laptops and computers, this directory of services, which includes housing, employment, food distribution, health and dental services, adult and aging services, and a number of other social services. The vans are really an extension of Open Doors, and we're hopeful that this will be a way to meet residents where they're at, especially those who lack transportation or live in parts of the county where we don't have county sites. And it also addresses the impacts of federal HR 1 legislation, which will really be affecting our CalFresh and Medi-Cal clients and communities, adding more frequent redetermination for benefits, adding work requirements, expanding 3-month time limits for able-bodied adults without dependents on CalFresh beginning June 1st, and Medi-Cal changes taking effect October 1st and in the new year. We launched the Open Doors Mobile Services Program on April 14th at our Sonoma County Board of Supervisors meeting with a gold resolution and a ribbon cutting ceremony. And we're very excited to roll out the new program in partnership with 3 county departments. So not just a human services, it also is a partnership with the Department of Health Services, DHS, and our Department of Child Support Services to really go out into the community and provide outreach, intake, and applications for public benefits, such as CalFresh and Medi-Cal, and to inform families about child support, health, and other resources that are offered by our county departments. The vans will be really beneficial for those who are in hard to reach places in the county and areas where we don't have brick and mortar buildings and county sites. And so in this first phase, we are prioritizing areas in the North County and the towns of Cloverdale, Healdsburg, as well as Windsor. And we also expect to expand to other areas of the county and looking to work with more community partners as we go. And we intentionally chose smaller 24-foot Sprinter vans as opposed to large trailers. We were looking at these 40-foot RV coach types of vehicles, but really chose the smaller vehicle to allow for ease of access in parts of the county that are harder to navigate with a large vehicle, particularly along winding roads and along the coast in your area. The vans are fully equipped vehicles with a mobile workstation, a TV, a bench. It has bench seating for passengers, and in the rear, an EBT printer, electronic benefits transfer machine for distributing EBT cards. This has been allocated to the human services van. And in the child support and health services van, it has a private rear office for meetings. And we'll also be able to use these vans for temporary evacuation points, which we call TEPs, and shelter support in times of emergencies and natural disasters, fires, floods, and other emergencies. So it will become a part of our emergency response system as county workers are also disaster service workers in time of emergencies. This is a snapshot of the timeline when we received the funding from the Board of Supervisors through its strategic plan. And then we moved into a planning phase internally with our Human Services and Health departments. We went through a process of vetting the vendor that we chose locally here in Santa Rosa. And up till the spring, when the vans were received and staff were trained, we conducted the soft launch. And so we recently held a community open house event as well on June 4th here at our West Wind site, the site of our adult and aging services building. And as I mentioned, we continue to vet new program sites on a rolling basis. We will also track our number of deployments and total numbers of clients served at each visit. And we hope you can help spread the word. In closing, we're really excited and hopeful that this will be a response to pressing community needs, and we know that this will be increasing in the months to come. We look forward to your support. And with that, I am happy to answer any questions. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Lynn. I'm going to have the board ask questions first, and then we'll turn it to the public. John.
Yeah. This is terrific, and congratulations on your introduction of the services. I have 2 questions. One is what is the process that you've used in terms of prioritization of initial sites for visits? That's one question. And the second is you reference community partners, local, hyper local partners that would sort of essentially host, the van and its staff, if you will. How does what kind of community partners are you partnering with currently? I live in the community of Bodega Bay. We've got a variety of nonprofits and service organizations. What's the best way for them to potentially reach out and get on your radar, and likewise for you to consider some of the locations and some of the communities that we represent?
Yes, that's an excellent question. And you aptly pointed out prioritization is key. So we did start in the soft launch phase with 5 organizations in the North County and Cloverdale and Healdsburg and Windsor areas. And that is really where we don't have a county building. And it includes Alexander Valley Healthcare, La Familia Sana, Corazon Hillsburg. I believe there's a church, Windsor a fellowship, chapel fellowship, and most recently, Great Day Labor Center in West County. So we are seeking to expand our services into West County. And I had a conversation with Scott on the day of the community open house. It really is about our capacity currently with our economic assistance, our eligibility outreach, mobile outreach unit, and their capacity to have additional teams out. Right now, we're only out on Tuesdays, and they've started once a week. And we're looking to expand that to our other divisions, including adult and aging services. I know there's an interest from our veterans team and other smaller teams within adult and aging, and also our employment and training services to mobilize their units. And so once we have that internal alignment and assignments of additional teams and units to go out on additional days, in addition to Tuesday, we will be able to begin working with more community partners. So it is broad. Nonprofits, faith-based organizations, civic community organizations are all welcome partners. It really I definitely think the coastal areas. I had a conversation with Scott that whether Bodega Bay up to Jenner and Annapolis, I think he mentioned areas we definitely do not have county sites. I think our furthest west is Guerneville, where we have a building, but you are on our radar, and it really is that next phase as we're in this early soft launch phase, but in the next 6 months, hopefully sooner. We know there's a tremendous need, and obviously the county has also, the board generously funded through its county budget process expansion or maintenance rather, and expansion of eligibility workers, staff, for us to have to meet the growing needs. And so hopefully that answers your question, but we definitely are prioritizing West County. Yes.
Yeah, that's wonderful. And we certainly appreciate the ramp up and the need to get the bugs out of the process and, everybody on board. That's great. The second question was and when you're ramped and ready, who should or local organizations contact to be on your radar as a potential location site? Does that go to you, Lynn?
It does come to me, and there's a program development manager, Nor Maxwell. I'm happy to share her information after the meeting. She is yes. So Nor is the one who actually spoke with each of those partners and did all of the scheduling and kind of lining up, space. They have to assess whether you have the space and restrooms and buildings. So Nor would be the person to contact.
Great, we'd love to get that.
And I can get that
name. That's great, terrific. Well, congratulations on your start. That's great.
Thank you so much. Any other questions?
From the audience.
I have a question. Could you go to the podium so that
So they can.
so the folks online can hear? You want to see me? Up here? Yeah, if you stand there, then, and if you look at the owl, okay, then it'll. Well, my question is simple. I'm just curious, is there a fee for this service? And she did mention some of the services that are gonna be provided, but I wasn't clear on all of those. So I'm just curious if one of the bands come here, can people get these services for free, or is there a charge? And then what are the services?
Great question. Free. Yes, the services are free, and the types of services are mainly our public benefits, Medi-Cal and CalFresh enrollment. We also do refer, so we have open doors materials available, and that I mentioned all of the kind of program areas that we're able to point you to in terms of housing, childcare, child support, violence prevention. That is more on a referral basis, but the van itself is really around Medi-Cal, so people who are eligible for Medi-Cal health insurance, or CalFresh, which is food benefits, and the EBT card and cash aid. So those are the primary needs met.
Scott Farmer.
Go over a little bit. Thank you, Lynn, for attending and bringing up those, driving up. I'm Scott Farmer. I live on Cruz Ranch. Thank you for making and attending this tonight. The Open Doors Mobile Services Program was tailor-made for servicing our northwest sheriff for the 5th District. We are fewer, spread out, and far from county offices, some as much as 2 hours away. Your regular 501c3 partners don't serve this area. It makes it harder for you and for us. A number of years ago, Zero Waste Sonoma recognized they were not reaching out to our part of the county with their community compost program. They reached out, and the product is a relationship that is efficient and effective. Key individuals identify the demand or need, and with a few emails, schedule deliveries to locations that have cleared contractual and insurance hurdles with Zero Waste Sonoma and County Council. We get the word out, it works, and it's popular. We can establish similar trusted relationships with you. Our sparseness actually binds us into close-knit communities. Key local individuals identify those that may benefit from your service and can communicate when a trip will be warranted. We don't want to make the trip, but we don't want you to make the long trip and no one shows. I anticipate the trips will be more seasonal. We could use sites like schools and the Star Cross Food Bank in Annapolis. We identify the locations, demand, get the word out, and you bring the counselors. I envision that when a person arrives to an Open Doors event, they will wait in a line for their turn for a private interview. The interviewer will then hear that person's story and situation, ask key questions, and determine which from the full complement of services might apply to this individual. The forms, and the counselor helps to fill them out. Over time, changing demand will require less frequent events. The key local individuals are close to the community and will know when an Open Doors visit is needed. Thank you.
Thank you, Scott. That is a beautiful vision, and I, committed our team as well to continue working to find an ideal site, and also when we are ready to be out there. I completely agree. There is a need, and why we chose a smaller van versus that RV coach, so that we are more nimble. And precisely the reason why we started this program. So hopeful that we will get to that point.
Lynn, have you been in touch with either Coastal Seniors or Mendonoma Health?
I believe we are working with Coastal Seniors through our adult and aging programs. The name sounds familiar. I think Paul Dunaway, our director of adult and aging, has been in conversation. And so, yes, I think the second I'm not familiar with, but definitely Coastal Seniors. So
okay, I'll let them know.
Great.
Any other questions, comments? Thank you very much.
Thank you for your time. Really appreciate the opportunity. Thank you, Supervisor.
Yeah.
Okay. This is where we talk about teleconferencing. Everyone had an opportunity to review this. What is this gonna allow, and it's happening at the county level, and so each organization has to approve it. It allows members of this group, the MACs, to attend remotely. Our district, our responsibility is what, 80 miles, 70 miles of coastline? And the people at the ends having to go all the way, it's, and some people have a problem, they drive at night or the car's sick or whatever the reason is. So this would allow the members to attend remotely and allows us in more cases than we've had to have a quorum. We have not had a quorum at several meetings this last year, and it's kind of annoying, because you can't do anything. And we get a great community meeting out of it, but still. So, any comments on this before we vote from the board?
Just a question, these requirements and everything, which we've all looked at, and maybe this was really for Debbie or something.
I can answer some questions.
I mean, is there anything here that we would present a difficulty for us to meet these requirements?
No, and the Board of Supervisors gave permission only to subsidiary bodies that already had built in the ability, because we already do all of our meetings hybrid. They said, well, then they should be able to do this, and then the rules are pretty much the same rules from when there was the COVID just cause remote. So that's something that these things are in here for you all to know, but they're things that I need to make sure happen, like that we take all votes by roll call if there's anybody attending remotely and stuff.
I do have a concern, having attended, now 3 or maybe 3 meetings anyway in Jenner. It's the connectivity issue. And I think this is wonderful. I mean, I think it will allow a number of benefits, but I think we're gonna have to, we need to rethink then either the infrastructure or the location for some of
Yes.
these meetings.
We have to make sure that
you're
we
aware of
have-
that, because you're often the one traffic copying, turn off your video, or,
And
smoke signals.
were you at the most recent one?
No, last one in Jenner, I dialed in, I listened in, I could not participate, obviously, because
Right.
this was not in place, but I
Right.
participated. I mean, I asked questions.
We learned some things
Oh, good.
about the structure of the building,
Oh,
and we don't have as
I trust you
issue.
to help us.
It was
with
it was the stadium seating.
Yeah.
If I am a line of sight to the office where I sit with this computer, then it works. So Jenner does that, you figured that out.
Maybe you have an answer.
Good.
That's good.
I do have a question about the rules. Will that mean in theory that people can only can decide to attend remotely only? Is there any limitation on?
There's no limitation.
Okay.
So, if a member decided to do that,
Mhm.
they could do
They
that.
could do that. Okay.
Mhm.
But there's nothing that would preclude us encouraging
No.
council representatives
Yeah.
to attend in
Yeah.
person.
And that is the.
As much as they could. I understand, because from Sea Ranch going to Bodega Bay kind of kills a lot of my day, and then the drive home in the dark, which I'll do, but but other than those kinds of things, I think it's cool that we can
Absolutely.
informally say we.
I mean, we could have had a quorum at the last meeting, but I was at my son's wedding, and, you guys have been great about flexibility, but I mean, I could have participated, so I think that's.
Right, it allows
Very,
to
very
get it
supportive
for
of
us.
this, very supportive.
Yeah, no, I think it's great also because as we go into the winter months and weather problems may arise.
Yeah.
I mean, it's also a safety issue
Yeah.
for driving.
It's great.
Yes.
Public comment, or back to you?
we gotta, I need a motion. Does anybody wanna move to accept this?
Yeah,
Yeah. I move to accept it.
Second. All in
So
favor?
wait, we need to public comment, but Ginny made the motion and who seconded it? John, okay, and now public comment?
Public comments.
Very quick, Frank, you go first.
I would caution the board to consider this item more thoroughly. There's some downsides, obviously. And you should take those, you should confront those. So I would simply recommend that you reconsider or consider more thoroughly that the downsides. Thank you.
Thank you.
So,
After him.
when I was chair of this for 2 years, it was all during COVID. It was all hybrid. We never met face to face. And one of the strengths of this committee being so vast communities, maybe what Frank's referring to, is that we got to know each other. And so, it's a no-brainer, you should do this. But be cognizant that it's being in the room together, discussing common problems that's really valuable. So try to hang on to that.
Oh, I think, yeah, yeah.
I'm on the board of Sonoma County Tourism, which is a countywide organization. And we have been running quite successfully with allowing people to phone in. There are structures in place that you have to do it ahead of time. And it does impact on the ability to sort of sit around and be part of the conversation. But what it allows are people to be able to join the conversation that might not otherwise have been able to. And it has a complication of you have to do votes out loud and things like that. But in terms of allowing access for the people who should be involved, I think it's a wonderful thing.
Yeah, I think all of us would rather be together in person. This allows for those exceptions. And I would hope that each of our representatives consider this inconvenience that would otherwise prevent them from.
I agree, but I also think it opens the door of participation. You know, there are people with physical challenges or disabilities that, you know, today might be excluded from participating. And so I think that the advice that you all have shared is well taken, and I don't think we see this as a get out of jail free card at all. I mean, not at all. I mean, we do like to be together. In fact, 3 of us, it was not a quorum. We showed up unplanned, Debbie, at the Grange potluck dinner. But we do like to be together and I support what you've all said, but I also know that there are times where personal conflicts, they're few and far between, but you could manage it if you could participate remotely and also, fulfill a potential, a different obligation. So, or challenge. Yeah.
Yeah.
There wouldn't be any consideration for having earlier meetings at times, like maybe in the winter. I don't know, the public may not be able to come to something like that, but most of the board members are probably retired, right? And an early meeting, 1 o'clock or something. I don't know if that would be a consideration. Especially in the winter time when it's dark.
I think it's certainly worth considering.
Yep.
I don't know what the limitations on staff support and all that kind of thing are at this point, but I'd be for that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Different discussion. But yes, thank you for bringing that up. That's a very good point. Okay, well, let's have a roll call vote.
Yeah, roll call vote. It doesn't have to be a roll call.
Okay, let's have
We're all here in person.
All in favor? Okay, it passes unanimously, thank you. The next thing is our community outreach, community engagement and outreach. I don't know, do they have a copy of this? Do they
You know,
have a copy?
I think because this got moved forward, it was on the May agenda, and no, I did not bring.
I did bring copies, I mean, at least enough, not for the public, I mean, but.
I know. What we wanna,
This was labeled
this
draft.
is
wasn't approved. I
basically,
just didn't-
it's like an expanded mission statement of what our goals are, what the expectations are, and, you know, how we reach out and connect with the community. We are your voice, we are your advocate. And we wanted to spell that out here. John Lawson did a superb job writing this. We're gonna have a discussion about it right now. This is not a voting thing.
And if people wanna go.
We should have one of these, yeah.
Yeah, I've done this.
I have a pile of materials.
Oh,
At the end, so I'll put it here. I have a few other things. for
So you're welcome to stick around and listen to this or not, but we need to talk about it, so.
So those of you that don't wanna commute in the dark, this is your cue, but we're delighted if anybody wants to stay as well.
So much.
But thank you for being here tonight. Thank you for coming tonight. Great to see everybody.
That's the snow, it's really good to see you.
Folks, you take it outside.
We can.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. You all are familiar, this was labeled draft, it was approved. I couldn't find it was in the minutes, that's where I should have looked, but I just grabbed this. Anyway, I had sent a note, and understand that it should have gone through Debbie and ultimately, or I guess it did go through Debbie, maybe it didn't, because I think I sent it and Debbie said. Anyway, apologies for that. It seems to me that, one of the things that, is at the top of my list, not necessarily yours, but mine, as I thought, I'm thinking about this, is this notion of each of us compiling a very simple directory. This is what was, originally email. Just saying, gotten to, I'm not. And with the notion that, it pushes a degree of discipline when we start to think about who do we communicate with. Likewise, building relationships with, particularly, and I'm talking about organizations, typically nonprofit, community-based. They may or may not be denominational, but the point is they have a real presence in the community. And so it creates a certain discipline, as we think about, for example, things like the open doors ban, or trying to drum up participation in the county planning process, those kinds of things. That we, I think each of our communities, we have some real go-to people that are running these things. So the point is getting some of this down on paper, but the other thing that it does is it creates continuity. Today I'm participating, I've got my mental list of people that I talk to, but when I go off this committee, that mental list very well goes with me. All of a sudden, putting this together, in a very simple way, this is not meant to be, overly bureaucratic, but, when I'm finished you know, it gets handed off. And that there's there's a starting point of sorts for somebody new.
Yeah.
I also, I just think I don't know if you guys, I get super busy and time flies and it's like, that I follow up? Who left, whose court is the ball in? Some of this is just basic, sort of note taking and, when was the last time I sat down with waves of compassion to check in with what they're doing and, do they have any particular needs that might they might be connected with various people in the county on. So I don't want it to be bureaucratic, but I think there is real benefit. And I would ask that you think about starting this, and I brought copies, so, and I know Debbie would be happy to email the form again if you need more, then I brought 5 or 6.
I even wonder, one of the things I wanted to ask you about this, that might even just make it easier for everybody compiling it. I could create a Google form.
Well, that's what this is. But I'll send it to you, so you don't have to duplicate it. You can send it to us. That way we can make multiple versions.
And then as you add things to it, it'll go into a spreadsheet.
Into a Google Doc.
Right.
Yeah,
I would do it almost as a Google Doc.
well, I'll make a form.
By segment it.
And then if people wanna.
But we could literally segment it by our coverage area.
Yes, yeah.
Almost, what's the term in Google Docs? It's like a chapter, tab, a tab.
Right.
And each tab has a form. You can multiply the forms, but it's organized then by your particular area.
Search by any.
Yeah. And it's not meant to be, proprietary or secret or anything like that. It's just, it's for this group and, but the point is, we have contacts, it's okay if I see them, it's okay if you see my contacts, that's like. Good. So I do think there's utility to this, but I'm open to pushback or a contrary point of view.
I think it's a great, I think having this electronic.
Yeah, I'll do it electronically.
Or whatever, and then it is the repository of
Yeah,
these.
yeah.
And then it would just
have
be
access to it.
You would all be able to, yeah.
Right.
The River Map has a similar thing. And that's why I knew.
Yeah,
that I
you can
had
do it
to
on
use
Google,
Because when they first started it, their ad hoc,
Mhm.
the community was managing it, and then I learned, no,
Yeah.
I need to.
Well, I think
It's a
it'd be
big
easier
map.
because there is a central repository.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and what they use it for is, community events, like tabling events that they're
Yeah.
gonna go to.
Yeah.
And,
That's good,
and
too.
so they can add things to it, and then I can send it out, and then people can tell me, they can sign up for shifts at an event. And then I update it, and then anybody can look at the Google Doc and see, oh, so and so signed up for this, or, oh, when did I sign up, and they can look at it. But we're not at
This
that
is
point
just,
yet.
this is the foundational.
This, right, we're not.
If we want to go to the next step, but I
Yeah.
think this is sort of a foundational piece.
And knowing the different organizations.
Yeah.
The next step could be reps
Yeah,
in
yeah,
that
yeah.
area,
Well-
like Fish Fest,
Well,
right?
that's-
Like, that you can have a presence
That's
there.
it. Jim sent me the invite for the potluck supper. I knew that it was coming, but it's like, oh, great, that's great that, we're gonna be there, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But then we might want to think a little bit about who would have the ability to edit each of us will contribute with a suite of contacts.
I think we're on the honor system.
So.
I think it's the-
anybody
The
can-
editing, no, I think that only I can edit it,
Right.
only staff
You-
can edit it
You,
because of Brown Act.
you fill in all the data. Boom, it goes to her, and there it is. When you have something to change, in
You just let me know.
other words, no,
Well, a Google Doc allows you to.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
right,
or you
Why
can,
not?
or you
Why
can
not?
limit that.
like I said, we did this before
Yeah.
in the River Mac. And initially, it was a math-led initiative, and they were they were monitoring it, one of the MAC members opened the Google Doc. And I learned that it was more compliant with Brown Act if it didn't go through, that it's not a shared document, that only I can edit it. And so that was, and then when this one.
But yet
When
the
this
doc
one-
can be shared. But it can't be edited, that doesn't
Right.
make sense to me.
Right, well.
Well, I mean, it doesn't. Look, I'm not gonna be argumentative about it, but I think that this is.
Yeah, I think it's
This is,
it's an important point, and
Yeah.
I also think that the person submitting the information should be able to edit.
edit, it's like updating when I met with somebody and what was said, that I don't believe should be centralized, that I should have the ability to edit the doc. For my submissions should be.
I'll
edited by
check
me.
to see if that's an
If not, then
acceptable
I'm
thing
gonna
to
take
have.
it
And I think
offline,
the
if
note-
not, then we're
right.
gonna go back to the paper and we'll just do it informally.
And I think that, the list of local contacts. That we maintain that, but I think each person should maintain their own notes, because that could be perceived as a Brown Act violation. If you were able to go on and say, I've been talking to community members about issue X. And then every other MAC member reads it, you're basically having a serial meeting, if you're putting notes in. But what we are going to do is have a directory is what we'll keep, but not specific, that would definitely be a Brown Act violation if you were keeping track of your conversations with community members in a shared document. That information you could bring to a MAC meeting.
Well, then maybe we
And-
take the reason off and just have the date,
Maybe it's
Yeah.
just the
date that you've had a conversation, there's no report on the topic.
I think
organization, the person and
Yeah.
their contact info, email,
Yeah.
number, but nothing else.
And the date of last contact, because I do think that is one of the reminders that's useful, gee, nobody's
No,
talked to
it's
someone.
very useful.
But I understand the issue of stating a reason or the nature of the meeting.
Yeah, I think that's very useful. This is the way,
That's fine.
this is the way around it, John. This is the way to make it happen. I'm not saying it can't happen, but in order to be compliant with Brown Act. At the beginning of every meeting, there is the piece where you give council member comment. So you can say during that time, I met with so-and-so at this and you're giving, and so then it's
Okay.
transparent, and then it can end up in this.
Okay.
It just has to come through at a public meeting.
process.
Because if
Okay.
you did it in not a public meeting, it would be a violation of the Brown Act. So it's not that this
I
can't
get it.
happen,
I
it
get
just
it.
has to happen in the context of a meeting. And we wouldn't have to have a special agenda item for it, because it could just be council member comment. I met with so-and-so, I met with this group.
Okay.
These are their, and then I'll update it.
Given the reasons and the topic of your discussion with the person, everybody could say, yep, there's my 3 ones that I had, and throw it in the consent calendar, under the consent thing, because we're.
Yeah, if you didn't wanna, if you wanted to save time.
Scott, you
Well,
had
and-
a work session at 8 p.m. Here it is, a public meeting.
Yep.
Anybody wanna see it? Great. We can just-
Okay.
We don't.
Yeah, you could send it, you could send it in writing and it could land in the consent calendar. So you could either speak it, or if you wanna do it in a written thing to save time, then it's compliant.
Right, it just has to be public.
It just has to be public, yeah.
Yeah, although I think the challenge is, if you can reference it in a meeting, it's in the minutes, then, and when did I go and talk to Waves of Compassion? Was it, January, was it July? I mean,
It would come from the meeting, and then it would go in.
it would end up in the.
That, yeah,
okay,
it
if
would
ends
just,
up in here,
that
if
would
ends
just
up
be
in
the,
here,
yeah,
that
yeah,
solves the problem.
that would allow it, that would
That
allow.
solves the problem.
Yeah,
And
that
that's
solves
the reason, it's just at least the date, because that kind of thing has helped you.
Yeah,
That's-
and if there's things you wanna flag, like, I talked to this organization and they flagged this issue.
Yeah.
I'd like to let you all know about that, that's a great way.
Well, it comes to you and then that's the industry. I get it.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. So that's one thing, and so, I do think this has been floating out there since January or so, let's, I'll work with you, Debbie, and we'll get this Google Docs, so.
Yeah, well, I mean, make a Google form to
Oh,
make it
Google
easy for
form,
people
yeah.
to fill out.
Yeah.
Because then it's a form and you'll be able to make your entries.
Yeah.
And then it'll land in a spreadsheet and then we can sort the spreadsheet, we can print it in any way you want, it'll be really,
I still think the person that provides the contact should be able to edit it. Otherwise, it's
I think we're gonna have to keep our own little list.
over time, this is gonna, this will become out of date.
right.
Well, Ginny, you can add to the Google Docs, you can add more stuff. Like, let's say you talk to somebody in January, and then by June you have another conversation, you're just adding another date and.
No, I'm not talking about a date, I'm talking about somebody's number changes, their email changes.
Yeah, that stuff is gonna, we got,
Oh, yeah,
That's.
but we're just gonna have to edit it through send edits.
stuff we just
You
submit to
could
them.
just send it to me as an email, say the
I get it.
contact change, could you
I get it.
It just
The
get-
other thing you could do, Google Forms does allow you to update your own, but here. I,
Yeah, you
Set
can,
it
you
up
can make a
that way.
copy, you can make a
but
copy.
you're,
Yeah. You
you
can
would-
save and make a copy on your own. You're absolutely right.
you would just need to save the confirmation that Google Forms sends you. So that you could go back and get in, because Google does allow you to edit your own, but what if it's like 2 years later, are you still gonna have that link? So I think just looking at the form, sending an email saying, Debbie, the contact changed for this, could you update it, or put in a whole new one?
Yeah.
But I can also make it so that people, like if you put it in and you realize, oh, I made a mistake and I wanna edit it right now, I think you can go back, I think there is an option. I'm gonna make a note.
I think we should have a dry run on that and see how.
Yeah.
Before we generate.
Yeah, before.
But nonetheless, you've still got the basic form, we'll start thinking about where we gonna go out.
We use something very similar, like a Google Doc and a spreadsheet.
Yeah.
For various service providers in summary. Because you have the same questions you have in everything, who does,
Yeah.
who's a good roofer?
Who's the plumber?
Who's the best
go-to
one?
plumber?
And there's a bunch of them.
Yeah.
Right.
One person owns the Google Doc and people just submit it and he says your name,
Yeah, your comments.
who the contact was, their phone number, and what your. They did a great job with my roof, or I wasn't entirely satisfied with it, or whatever the deal was. And then other people say, oh yeah, I used that guy too, they send in their comments, so they all just pile up.
Yep.
What it. And things do happen, I mean, phone numbers change.
Oh, yeah.
But mostly,
And officers of these organizations,
well, most
executive directors.
people retire, and they
Yeah,
die,
well,
so they're not in business anymore. They're not in business anymore, so that gets noted in there. And so you've always got, so we're always looking at the latest thing, and you can read all of the comments back forever.
Mhm.
And usually,
They don't.
that's for service providers, people usually don't trash something
No.
online, but this would work that way too, as opposed to everybody. Anybody can go in and change these phone numbers, not a good plan.
I'm not suggesting that, I'm just
Yeah.
suggesting
No, I was just.
that
All good, all good.
individuals who submit these contacts should be able to update them.
Well, we're gonna have to be
And
able
I
to
think
do that. It's
you,
just-
I think you can do that, Jenny, but you'll have to save the link that Google sends you when you initially submit it. But at any point in time, you could just email me and say, update this, and I can get in there and update it.
Okay, you're. Can we save the logistics of this for?
Later down the road.
Well, let's, I really wanna get them
We'll do a
done,
draft-
so
we'll
let's,
do a draft
we're
of
gonna
this.
move
And
ahead.
I'll, yeah.
We'll send it out, you'll
Yeah,
send it
I'll
out.
send it out,
Okay,
and
we'll
then
send it out,
and then
and we'll
if
see how it
it's-
works.
Yeah.
And the next meeting, hopefully, we've got a quasi-assembled list.
Yeah, and it can be a work in progress, if
Yeah, it
we
is a
find
work in
that we don't
progress.
like the mechanisms, that we can change it, update it. as we go.
Did you get my information?
You did, yes, yeah.
The, sorry. Also thinking about just two other topics, relative to outreach in the near term.
It has to do with.
I thought this was helpful. This was a flyer for recruiting, CMAC members. And this was, I don't know if it was, I think it was at the all MAC meeting that we had.
Those have been all over the place. They've been posted at all the post offices and the.
Yeah, I put up a couple, but I think this is great and we need to do this. I also think we need a very simple brochure. And I actually, I need an art person. I have an art person that is willing to help me do this, to put together the design. The content would largely be a combination of the MAC mission, the kinds of topics, and who to contact. But we go to these events and there isn't a simple handout or a brochure for somebody to take. What's the MAC? What does it do? Answering some basic questions. I will get to you. I'll get to you so you can get to everybody else. Sometime within the next 2 weeks, a draft, a visual draft of what this looks like, so you guys can critique it. It may need to be modified for what you might want to use it for. I'm designing this from the perspective of a newbie, a new MAC member, going out into the community and getting first reactions from people, a lot of them who don't know me because I'm a newbie. I've only lived here 4 years. But I do think we need for some of these events, it would be very helpful. I don't know whether the River MAC does something like that, because they do go to a lot of community events. You've tabled a community event, the health fair. I was at the Bodega Farmers Market and there are a couple of people where, I probably won't table once a month. But the point is, there are people with literature around about the community and all the rest, giving them 6 simple trifold brochures, come to the next MAC meeting, what's MAC, whatever it is. I think that would help introduce this
I
concept.
can tell you about the materials that the River MAC put together. So they bring flyers and literature about county, like general plan information or movement doors. So like the literature that the county is wanting to refer to, they'll bring a number of those. But then they wanted to have something specifically MAC related, and I don't know if you saw the magnets, that they're like refrigerator magnets. They're about this big, and they have them when they're tabling, and it has the QR code for the newsletter. It has
if there's any way,
if we come up with a list of dates where the MAC will be tabling at, and that's a great thing.
No, that's what I want. I'm looking for somebody that doesn't know anything about MAC to be able to understand what is a MAC, how might it be helpful to me, what does it do? These are the questions I get, and if you get one, there are 20 other people that are wondering but don't ask, and it's, well, is this, how this sponsors this, is these, do they have authority? No, we're conduits, that kind of stuff.
Right.
But
And it's designed for perspective, because one thing that we're really looking at here is recruiting prospective members.
That's why.
So there's like 2 different audiences.
I think this is helpful.
That's for that.
That's helpful. This is specifically.
And then that is more for
I see
residents.
something more for the general public, and ideally, you know, there'd be a message, if you have interest in serving, you know, please contact or from the QR code, you know, here's more information. So I'd like it to be dual use, but where we are, we've got a, maybe unlike, you know, some communities, there's a lot of people coming in and out. And part of it, I think, is today the harbor, you know, what was a second home community is turning into a quasi permanent home community, but nonetheless, you get 600 houses. There are a dozen, you know, there's certainly 4 houses a month minimum, even in the winter, that are turning over, new people are coming in. So, and I think I'm just speaking that microcosm. But in Bodega Bay, even to some extent, Valley Forge, I think it'd be helpful to have something for the public. So I will get a draft to you.
Okay.
And you can share it. It's not to be at this juncture, it's merely a starting point, so it needs to be edited.
Right, well, we can bring that to the next meeting.
Yeah,
An agenda, but we could keep this community engagement outreach as a standing item as we talk through these things, so that we have an
It doesn't
opportunity
have to be.
to.
Yeah.
Yes.
Does it have to be a MAC item? I mean, can't this be something that? It isn't really MAC business, because it's a universal thing.
And,
So.
If you all want input on it, then it needs to be agendized. If you just want me to come up with something and say, here's your thing, then it doesn't have to be on the agenda. So, yeah. But what I would do also is send you an image of the magnet.
That'd be great if you could send
I
me.
can send that out,
That'd be great.
so you
That'd be
can
great.
see
That'd be
what they
great.
have on there. Yeah,
Because
we
I
had,
love that.
for the river map, we did an English and a Spanish
Yeah.
version.
Yeah.
I think we should probably.
Oh,
do that.
absolutely.
Yeah.
No, I think
And
even on this
and
brochure.
it's, so when one of the first things that people were really excited about when the river map started tabling, people would come and talk about novels and, you know,
Oh, yeah.
things that need, and people did not know about Soco Connect.
Yeah.
And so that magnet has the link, the QR code, and so, and then people would come back and say, you know what? I did that, and within a week it was, they're amazed, because there isn't anybody out there looking for that, but so. That's such a great community service, if you're just out and you tell people to do that, so.
Yep.
Yeah, so it's a, explaining
At
what
least
the MAC is by.
The community I'm in, we're still at the foundational level.
Yeah.
And part of it is because it turns over, I mean, there are obviously many long-term residents,
Yeah.
but there's a good sized population of people. Newbies,
Yeah.
you know.
And they need those things that are on the magnet, you know, they need to sign up for
So
the,
if you
so
send a
they
photocopy,
and they can put it on their fridge, and, yeah, so definitely.
As one option, I'll get this simple brochure concept.
Yeah.
Finalized, so you can distribute that, it's just a discussion.
Great.
So I
Right.
things that. And that's the release.
Yeah, yeah.
And now the research.
Well, Ginny and I were talking on the way up, and part of it was driving by Coleman Valley Road and thinking, you know, like the Carrington Ranch project. We had the meetings, in fact, I think the meeting where we discussed it was here, so it was a while ago. And you know, Linda was kind enough to say, and we had I'm blanking on his name, the senior person.
Steve,
Yeah. You know, presented, and the outcome of that was, well, you know, there were a bunch of studies in the process, the evaluation was still underway, and like I said, we'll do an update meeting. That's one of the things that we do need to get on the agenda, because I've got.
That's not part of this.
No, but it's
Yeah.
this notion of, Ginny said, what if, when we think about community outreach, what are the mechanisms for follow-up? Because, you know, that was one where, It started with a community,
Right.
an informal community meeting, a listening session. It evolved to a summarized list of concerns. The presentation was agendized at the MAC meeting. There was a great discussion and there was an agreement to follow up, but we need to now, because
I'll
we've
find
been,
out
6 or 8 months.
if there's a-
We need to figure out where we are.
Okay.
Right, because it feels like they give feedback.
I wouldn't really-
We don't know. The evidence that we're going to hear what's next.
Maybe.
Thanks so much.
Thank you very much.
You too, Scott.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, maybe you might know the answer to this question that just came up. Well, last time we were here, there was that, Carrington Ranch topic came up, and they're wondering about the timeline. I can check with probably Tracy and Steve if there's an update.
Yeah, I don't have an
Yeah,
update on that one. We can, yeah, we can check it.
Because we did say to the community that we,
Yeah,
it was very clear there was work in progress. It needed time to work through and to arrive at, some fact-based, sort of conclusions about what's possible and what isn't. But it's now been probably 6+ months and I have gotten pings from a couple of folks.
Yeah,
And, where are we? And
I'll investigate.
Yeah,
I get that.
yeah, no, I
We
worked on
probably
about
should-
you, I was just saying,
No,
it's one of the, an agenda item for a future. time.
Definitely, so, yeah, actually, that reminds me, I'm gonna take my notes out of
Yes.
this so that I can remind myself of what I have to do.
So in terms of the community, no, I'm good. I said I can do them.
Thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
Well, the only other suggestion that I would urge us to consider and do, Jenny and I talked to David, it's very useful. I think we're gonna host just an open community meeting. Are there any questions? Concerns, and, we likely will do it at the new Grange, because that's still a draw for people, and again, on the off cycle to see if there are any other issues. But people are finding.
So on a bigger.
So that is doing it, but it's local, it's
brought-
us hosting some of these.
Right, I
informal
brought up
listening
this Sun
sessions.
Point Marina with the camping that that they were proposing to do there. Okay, now we hear that there's gonna be a meeting, and the same thing with Carrington Ranch, like there have been several things that have happened within the last year that community members have brought to our attention, and we, but we don't hear in a very concise way, but like, we don't know when we'll hear back. And, there may not be an obvious.
It was the same thing with Bay Road. I mean, there was a certain solution to the problem, but I think there was the impression that it didn't want to be so openly discussed. I don't know whether that's true or not true, but we've had a few of these where there are issues, we raise them, and we need some definitive closure to them when it's possible. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
That's not.
So the third thing though, around just to stick to
That's
community engagement and outreach, hosting,
I think this is really.
and that's
important.
something that's actually in the bylaws.
Yeah, we can do it.
That,
No,
there's out, so
I'm
that,
saying, I think
that
that,
is.
I've done 2 of them now, very useful. And I'll tell you what it does is it also, then people come to you about other things, which is also very useful. And again, this may be less relevant, to communities that are less dynamic in the sense of people coming in and out all the time.
Right, but I anticipate that there'll be many more things like that in the Bodega Bay area because of all these ranches going online to become parks. And the community is, has various concerns and wants to know more about it. And that is not something, it's not a simple thing, but it's something that impacts them directly.
Yeah.
And when we come and collect the information, then, and provide that feedback, the next step is for us to get some resolution or feedback to share with people. Otherwise, people are kind of like, well, what's.
I think
Yeah,
that,
it's like.
I think it was reinforced in a very positive way with this, getting Caltrans
Yes,
to change the date. I mean, because everybody said, oh, they won't even, they won't even, they'll meet you, but in one ear and out the other. I think we were all stunned that. And I think part of it was because there was really there was some real facts. We did a survey of
right.
all the people that belong to the Chamber of Commerce and some really compelling data. And, even from a PR perspective, it would not be a good story for Caltrans or the state to say, they ignored, because here's our
We should
data.
probably stick to the community engagement and outreach, stick to the agenda discussion.
Well, I think you're right, as I said.
And if we want to agendize other things, we can.
Well, I think it's a discussion about being sure that we have more timely and more thorough closure of issues that have been raised. I think that would be helpful as a statement, so. And I could say the same thing because the whole park issue with
The Estero?
the Estero, there were very clear commitments from the county and from Linda, frankly, that there would be community meetings, and there were not. So this is why I'm very serious. We're doing this, we're spending our time doing this to be effective both ways. There needs to get closure on some of these commitments that get made. So about follow-up. Okay, great. I'm done.
Thank you for your work on this.
Well, we'll get these things rolling. Debbie will help, Debbie, your expertise with Google will be much appreciated, much appreciated. Much appreciated. What else do we have?
Anybody want to talk about the meeting in March about telecommunications on the coast?
Just because it wasn't a MAC meeting and there was no opportunity for anybody to discuss at that time. So council recommended that it go on the agenda as an informational item. If there is anything that you wanted to bring up, you could, but.
I thought it was highly, I don't know.
That was great.
I thought it's highly informational. I learned a lot of things and I am glad to see that you put a link to the recorded part.
Yeah.
So that anyone.
It was a great presentation.
Anyone can see.
Anyone can see it, and then there's also a summary, it's not minutes.
Right.
So you don't have to approve them, but for people that want to just, hear what happened at the meeting, we do have it right up.
No, I think I'm glad we have that on there, and I may go back and watch the video again myself.
It was really good.
Well, regarding that, is there a way for us to be updated on the progress that's being made in telecommunications on the coast? I mean,
Well,
we
you
have
follow
that
the newsletter.
Yeah. But beyond that, anything?
I would, I would follow public infrastructure. I mean, there's like the presenter said, it's multi-layered.
Right.
And so the information is gonna come from a lot of different sources. But I would follow the newsletter, because when new things happen, they go in there. And we've had this. Linda's newsletter.
I already do that.
And this is a topic that we've had a town hall on this topic before, so we could, probably the best thing is to bring these folks out again in a year and hear what the progress
And
is.
maybe a different location. I mean, so more people hear the story. I mean, and I think that it was a great meeting. That was a great
Because
meeting.
one of my observations, if I remember correctly, and I'm not sure that I remember it verbatim, but even though it was a very good presentation, it was pretty high level when it came down to implementation. I wanted to know where the fiber was going, which communities would be better connected than are currently. It seemed very like a little bit removed from the details that I would want to tell my neighbor, oh, be aware this is coming or not coming. So I found it to be a little, it was informative, but not quite practical.
Was that the We Conduit piece?
Yeah.
Because didn't you have a presentation from them specifically?
Yeah, previously.
We did,
Yeah,
and I.
but it
knew
was
that
still- they were still-
coming,
yeah.
Still, they were coming and, they told us a lot of stuff that, or maybe good at a certain level, and I couldn't tell if the presenter didn't have that information, that's why they didn't share it. But I was like always kind of getting down to the elemental, okay, how is that impacting this community or that community? And what's the timeline for something to happen? That information is not.
I believe that that is now,
We could ask them that.
but I've seen maps and timelines, and I think they're on the We Conduit website, but I'm gonna make a note to myself to go look for it and then send it to you, because I think I have seen that information that you're looking for, but I'm not 100% sure where.
Thank you, but because I don't remember it in the presentation at all.
Yeah.
And.
I think
I would-
they didn't have maps at that point, it was just kind of descriptions, and it sounded like it was evolving. I mean, some of it was fixed, but with the addition of the additional grant, they were still. Also particularly figuring out.
Because they just got.
Right, this community is target and Burnville will be covered, and then. 18 months later, Jenner will be I don't know, what is the roadmap for that happening? Anyway.
I also thought the discussion of the mobile access. With those repeaters that have already been established.
The GMRS radio.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you, I got this in there.
Yes, yeah.
I mentioned this to a few folks that in our CERT, that are on CERT in our local area, and they were familiar, but other people were saying, what is this thing, like many of us, unless you don't know about it until you absolutely need it and you don't have it, but it was really good, and I think in that sense, maybe a repeat of it, just even focused on that topic.
Yes, you know what, we
Just
need
on
that
that
topic
because
for
that's
July,
emergency prepared.
and maybe I could get the GMRS people out. With a more of a nuts and bolts, like how to engage, how to learn how to do it, how to sign up. They do trainings. And they have in the past had grants to give people the radios.
Oh, they did, or somebody from the county said, we bought so many, we're handing these out,
Yeah,
like handing them out.
yeah. So maybe.
That was actually, and I mean, I sort of followed it, but it was a completely new concept, and it's like, how does that work? And,
I went back and Googled a GMRS and learned I read a whole article, it's like, oh. This isn't any super new thing.
No,
It's just new to us.
It's new to us.
Yeah.
And it's really important, it's a really important layer. Because when the towers go down.
When the grid goes down.
On the San Andreas fall.
Please. I see that.
So I'll look into that for July, unless somebody has another hot topic, because that's coming up really soon, we're close, because this meeting was delayed.
Okay.
I'll see if we can,
And where are we going to be? Are we gonna be in Bodega Bay?
at the Grange.
We are.
Oh, we are.
We are, they confirmed.
That's definitely,
Yes,
okay.
that's
yeah.
definite. The regular date, July.
28th. Does that sound right? I remember,
I've got it here.
I've got it too. I don't have the Wi-Fi password, so
July 23rd.
23rd. But that would be great if there were any update on Carrington, even if it's just. We haven't forgotten about it, it's still, it's progressing.
Yeah.
Because it is the bodega community that, is they're gonna ask the question, so it would be great if we were in front of it.
Whenever I go somewhere, people are asking me the same thing, and I feel
We'll get
a little embarrassed to not.
Yeah.
have to
Okay.
be able to
Oh,
say
right.
that.
Because even if there isn't.
Well, even if there's not a lot of, it's just.
We can find
haven't
out where it
forgotten.
is in the
Well,
process.
That's it hasn't been forgotten,
Mhm.
I mean, literally to acknowledge that we haven't forgotten.
Yeah,
And then we'll also be able to talk about the Spud Point, that the fact that there will be a meeting in the late fall.
Yeah,
So
yeah, those are important things.
that.
Those are important things.
Correct.
Now, they're not presentations, but they're they're important.
Yeah, they
you know,
can be part of the
caveats
county
to their-
update.
Right, and I have a question that I didn't wanna ask, in the forum about the sheep.
Sheep's Head Creek.
Creek. And so the permit was, they pulled the permit.
Well,
We don't
that's
know.
not on the agenda,
Okay,
so.
Yeah.
Reach out to the office, I can find, I don't know, maybe CAL FIRE can, yeah, we don't.
I've got, yeah, and I've got Michelle Irwin and Jenner who's working on.
Yeah. Cal Fire website has, you can look up
But-
logging.
But now, are we concluded?
Yeah,
with
let's
the,
Official.
with item 12, yeah.
Yes.
All right,
But we do need to finalize the agenda for July 23rd, because that's coming fast, and it is gonna be in Bodega Bay, right?
okay, well, let's do those two things.
Okay.
So, I'll reach out.
I also thought the potential other topic, while it's been covered, it was covered at the River MAC. It discussed at some length, there was that roundtable of people involved in tourism and
Tourism.
what?
The EIFD meeting?
Yeah,
Yes, and there's another one coming up.
But either what came up was there was in that presentation a discussion about the county's permitting process for vacation rentals.
Oh,
That
was it the
came up.
EIFD meeting?
No, I'm sure it was.
Or was it the MAC meeting?
It was the meeting where you and I met. Remember, we both ended up at it was the River MAC meeting. It was the MAC meeting.
Okay,
It was the MAC meeting.
and it
the
was
MAC meeting.
vacation rentals.
It was discussed at some length, and there was even a discussion about inspection and the fire chief.
Yes,
The fire chief says, look, we don't, we don't inspect, but if we are called to a, residence, it's out of compliance as a vacation rental rates, we'll refer it to Sonoma planning for enforcement. It was, I'm sure I'm angling. So a discussion about
the topic
an
about
update of
vacation, and
and
what,
status.
so there are some slight differences between
Yeah.
coastal vacation rental
And the river.
and inland.
Well, this is coastal, yeah.
Right,
and I-
so,
But I
let
know
me
people
find
discuss
out.
this, I
Mhm.
know people talk about
Yeah.
this. So that would be, and some real concern, obviously, it takes housing stock out of the pool, that kind of stuff. But
Yeah.
that would be a topic that I think would draw some folks with interest.
So,
How is it
because
working?
it was a panel, it was a summer
It was a
panel.
panel, yeah.
And so
I-
just to be clear, because I'm gonna be trying to pull some of these people together for July. Regional Parks was there.
Yes.
Sonoma County Tourism. Fire, Caltrans and CHP.
I don't think you need Caltrans.
Yeah,
Because I think the good news is that issue got resolved, to some extent.
yeah.
Um,
And so
But more discussion,
tourism
tourism and the focus on
Tourism.
vacation rentals and
and
the process, how it's working, what people's options are.
so I think because this won't be a panel, I think maybe reaching out to tourism might be the best way. If we have GMRS and tourism.
I think that'd be two very interesting topics.
Yeah, I think we can make
Tourism, in what aspect of tourism?
It's really the vacation.
vacation rentals.
Tourism.
Yeah, yeah.
Short-term.
Mhm.
Yeah.
You mean, what's the latest?
What's the latest?
Status.
What are the, reinforcing, this is how it works.
Yeah,
The ordinance is in place.
Yeah.
People are getting,
Is it effective? I mean, how many complaints, get filed? How do they get resolved? We have a lot of rentals, right?
Yes, there are a lot, and they get
Yeah.
paid.
yeah, we do it.
Yeah,
yeah,
okay. All right, that gives me, and you two will still do agenda,
Yeah,
so we can do that
this is
online,
sort of
but we have good, thank you.
And,
Thank you.
and as a part of that, I would put in the plug, which I'm probably a broken record with it, but with the tourism, we have the TIF grant. Like, what percentage of the money comes back to the communities? Can we ever find that number out? Can we ever know that?
Yeah, I don't know if that would come from tourism, that would probably be through the county.
Yeah,
Okay. Because,
That is a long discussion, and it's an old concern, this community has been.
But we're kind of digressing.
Oh, we've been.
This was a capital session, we completely ended the, yeah. So can we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
I second my third.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Devin, can I get the?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, let me get a direction.
I mean,